Uh-oh. You sure? Calms her down. We've been EMP'd. Yeah, no, I just mess with you. Hey guys, what's going on? Winter Wolf here. I was laughing my way through the intro because King Z just impressed me with the deep cut reference to a very old classic comedy. But we're not here to talk about that today. We're going to get you the topics of the week on Winter's Watch, and we're going to do it right now.
Why is it not showing your camera?
Just let me know when to talk.
I'm having an issue.
I got it up on the primary monitor. I can see it. I can see it.
Yeah.
I'll talk through it
Yeah,
because
go
this
ahead.
is what we do here at Winter Wolf's Den, guys. King Z running some stuff behind the scenes is hopefully going to get my camera feed up in a short amount of time, but it's no big deal because I've got a face for radio and a voice for print anyway. So we're just going to get right into rock, and we'll put King Z on the spot just to say, hey, dude, what's going on? And thanks for coming back for another second night in a row.
Hello, how y'all doing? Sorry about the issues. Give me a second. I'll have everything back up. I don't know what's happening, but I will fix it. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, no worries, man. Like I said, we're good with the empty space up on
Boom!
the monitor for the time. Oh,
and there it is. Touchdown.
There it goes. There it is. It was a deep toss. He ran the route. He got his separation, and here he is. You sure we're good? You can take a deep breath?
Yes.
You need to go get a lemonade or a peach tea or anything?
Welcome,
there he is.
Welcome, everybody. Oh, I am sorry for the beginning technical difficulties. I will have this sometime in the future, have this, down to a science or something, but who knows at this point. But anyways, thank you for joining us today at 9:30 for the Winter's Watch as we go through our top 5 topics of the news cycle that we find discuss-worthy.
Yeah.
So with
mentionable.
Yeah.
Doable.
So let's talk about the number 1 hot topic. Let's talk about the strike.
Yeah, dude, this is a topic that I thought was going to get a little long in the tooth sooner or later. It doesn't seem to have the kind of resonance in the public sector that sometimes like pro sports strikes tend to get when they do like lockouts and those kind of labor stoppages. And I think one of the things, working against this strike here is there are enough people that are just kind of put off with the general content that we get out of Hollywood lately that people just don't care to support this nonsense. Because I think the public at large has kind of a simplified view that if these guys strike and go back to work at Starbucks and shit, maybe we get some better stuff. Maybe the AI turns out some better stuff. Who knows? That's all wrong for a bunch of reasons. But
yeah,
at the end of the day, the strike's really not resonating with people. But the reason I bring it up today is because outside of the impacts on, I think, streaming and maybe live TV, or not live TV, but like new shows that come out seasonally, like in the fall, like when we have a bunch of new pilots come out, we're getting up on that time where we're really going to start to see the impact of new stuff not coming out. But what I wanted to mention in here, and it's in the title bar, I think we're seeing our first major impact at the box office of the effects of the strike. And given that while these actors are on strike, they can't get out and do interviews and promote the things that are coming with.
Yeah,
in some situations, right, they can't, and they won't. You know what I mean? Out of solidarity, they won't, and they're to be applauded for that. I'm not typically a union guy. You and I have talked about that before. You're not a union guy either, for the most part. But I think it's in certain cases, like this particular case where it's billionaires beating down an industry that has a bunch of people that aren't millionaires, like your ground level technical teams, actors that do walk-on roles and aren't giant stars. They're getting pinched here hard, and that sucks. That's not their fault. They're not making the creative decisions to make everything terrible. But the big thing that's coming up on the topic from our headline here is Dune 2 is moving out of its October spot and got bumped back to something like March 15th to 24. And I think that is that the first big blockbuster that's getting bumped out of a spot because of the strike. We know certain things have been bumped on the Marvel and the DC pages on their fronts, but that's more because of creative control, rewrites, and reshoots. That really hasn't been tied to any strike-related things. But I kind of wanted to get your feel on Dune getting punted. Maybe this is a strategic win for them. Did they need more time? I don't know.
I don't think they needed more time. I think mostly they're doing it out of solidarity because, I mean, if the movie's already in the can and done, and they're just not getting the publicity run that it should have, I don't see why it should be delayed for our release, because all you're doing is, I mean, unless the actors have to sign off on something or something like that for it to be released. But I mean, for the studios to delay it, it doesn't make much sense, because all you're doing is cutting yourself out of money that you could be getting from the box office, and then or streaming or whatever. However, there are the rentals on like Amazon. You can still rent movies on Amazon and stuff like that.
Yeah, PVOD.
So,
Yep.
I wouldn't know what I would have to look more into it to actually see why it was punted, unless it's just the studio trying to deny people residuals that they would get for it not being on the bid stream. Just remember, residuals come in after production cost has been paid for, which comes from the box office sales, or if they sell it to, say, like me and you made a movie and I sold it to Sony, and then they give me the money back, and like I gave so many people points for helping me make it because I didn't have a big budget. After I pay for the production cost, then whatever's left over is divided up into those points. So that could be an issue as well, to make sure people don't get their money, to try to strangle them even more.
Yeah, that's a great point. I was thinking it more along the lines of delaying it at this point when the economic situation around everything is so poor. They're running a lot of risk, because once they're done and it's in the can, like you said, doesn't the bill come due from all the financing? Like, do they not need to contend with mounting interest at this point for loans and lines of credit that they've kind of taken out? Like, that stuff's not paid for yet. That's why they need to get that up to recover those costs.
So most of these studios, like the big ones, like your Warner Brothers, your Disney, they're not taking those loans out. That's why you see like a lot of movies where it has like 3 production companies at the beginning. So like the little one is like hiring all the people, it's their story, and then they sold it to the bigger company, who is the who is the bank to them.
Oh, okay.
So
if they're liquid, they're okay. They can cover the cost of something like a Dune and float it, then hope they get that return on the investment from the box office, like you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think they're probably punting because they want to do the standard media blitz.
Yeah, because I think it needs it. I mean, I don't remember before if you had said you had seen the first part of it, because it's basically one long movie. You did see the first part. I have not.
Yes.
And I think you're right. It needs whatever press push it can get, because the first movie, while it definitely caters to a kind of a niche audience that loved the Herbert novel series, especially that first book, it's definitely a tiny corner of fandom that's down for Dune in the same way people are down for Trek or Doctor Who or Star Wars, historically speaking, not now, because those things all suck. So yeah, I think this movie, it almost didn't get green lit based on the return, not based on reviews. The reviews were wildly popular, wildly good, wildly positive.
Well, it is the 3rd or 4th adaptation of the original Dune story.
This, for sure.
So, and I think what they did different on this one is that they expanded it and tried to keep it closer to the lore of the actual books. And then with the computer technology and the CGI technology we have now, we can actually deliver it where it looks a little bit more real, I guess you could go for, would be the
authentic term. I guess would be
real authentic. Yeah,
it has some grit to it. Yeah, but then I hope it works out for Dune, because I know there's a bunch more books in the series that have even less notoriety than that first book, but because we just get the same rehashes of the same shit, I hope anything new that comes out does well, so we can get these expanded universes. If we get a good Dune movie or 2, we can get the series. If we get a good Warhammer or 40K thing, we can get more out of that. There's a lot of stuff still left to be adapted.
Oh yeah,
the Steven Erikson one that you and I talk about all the time, but I can't remember the name of the
Malazan
series. Yes, the Malazan books. Like, bring these things out, because not as many people know, but if you do them on modest budgets and take a really strong first swing, these become profitable IPs. I think there's value here. that they can explore. But the other thing I wanted to throw at the strike talk is it's hilarious that Dune 2 gets punted, and what fills in the open spot in all the IMAX theaters in October because it didn't get punted? Well, that'd be the Marvels. They got jacked out of that spot in place of Dune, and rightly so, because that movie's gonna bomb harder than a Rosie O'Donnell OnlyFans page. Believe that. That's gonna happen. Yeah, I know. I did. I put the visual there. It's like black magic in your head. Wow, there it goes. Right. Yeah, no saving throw on that one, boss. Sorry, it's just auto failed. The Marvels is getting like the hand me down sloppy seconds, Wish version IMAX display. I just thought that was kind of funny because I don't know if you've noticed in the Facebook feeds and social media feeds, but they are still pushing that movie hard. They are desperate to make you like the other two Marvels in the movie. They are desperate to tell you that it's different than every other Marvel movie, and it's going to be funny. Like, that hasn't been a thing. We know it's not going to be funny, but it's not like they're any strangers to trying to be funny in these movies. But best of luck to those guys, I guess, over there at the Marvels. Because is there any chance that this movie fills in for Dune's gaps now? Oh, I can't see Dune. I'm going to go see fucking the Marvels. Really? Is that a thing for anybody?
No,
like, who's the market for that?
I don't think so. One is a superhero movie, and the other one is a hardcore sci-fi movie. Yeah. They're not even the same genre together. Even though technically they both fall under science fiction, the other one would fall under the subgenre of superhero, and the other one would fall under space opera. So I think Dune would have buried that movie in the box office.
Yeah, I think most of the people that are going to see the Marvels are about 25 years too young to even know what Dune is. You know what I mean? It's not quite in the zeitgeist like Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter or even something like Wheel of Time, which is a little lower on that ladder of like popular fantasy at this point. It's still really strong, but it's Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, and everybody else. But speaking of space opera, see, I can do that. I can do that slick segue there. So I'm over my tirade from yesterday. I had a drink, I slept it off, I discussed it with a couple of friends. Ahsoka, right? So yeah, if you guys hadn't checked our live review of Ahsoka episode 3 that we covered last night over there on the channel, go check that out. Get back to us. Let us know what you think. You can comment in there. We're trying to get a discussion going about that show because I think the writing is now largely on the wall for the Disney stuff, for the Disney Star Wars stuff. Yeah. Ahsoka was definitely, I think, their last gasp at pulling from legacy from the canon that doesn't exist, according to Darth Kennedy. This was a fan favorite. This should have been a Jordan era slam dunk, like 10s across all the judges' scorecards and people passing out in the stands. This should have been a free throw line dunk, and it should have nailed it. And it was off to a mostly good start. I think the general reaction from the public, us included, we were pretty good on it.
Yeah, the first two episodes were great.
Yeah, I mean, we were digging it. We were digging the pacing, performances, the direction of what the story was going to be. But then last night happened, or the night before, but we covered it on the second night. Episode 3 happened. And then all of a sudden, viewership numbers are somehow released. And the Disney spin machine is in full effect. And you and I talked briefly about this after the show last night. We were saving kind of the metrics of it for today's show. So Disney's putting numbers out there that they're allowing the numbers to be focused on. And they're courtesy of Samba TV, which is kind of it's a ratings aggregator. For minutes, they gather sources from different streaming platforms, from mobile platforms, things like that, and then they get numbers out there for streaming, for movies, series, all that kind of stuff. They're reporting that the 6-day total view for Ahsoka places it as low as Andor, meaning that 1.2 million households viewed some amount of the first 2 episodes in the first 6 days. They had to expand that count from what they typically take as a 4-day tally to hit 1.2 million, which translated total to 14 million views.
Yep, they said that it's the lowest viewed show in the Star Wars television episodes, below Kenobi, below Book of Boba Fett, below The Mandalorian.
Yep. Mando season 3 in particular. Now, and there's one more number that just stabs right at the heart of this. The 14 million views, as I understand it, only counts that you've logged into the service and basically clicked on play. You don't have to watch a minimum large percentage of the episode for them to get credit as a view. It's under 2 minutes by my understanding. So 1.2 million households might have turned in and then pissed off 10 minutes into episode 2 for all we know. We don't have it down to that kind of specifics. But the trip of this is that all the fan sites out there are holding this up saying it's the #1 streamed show on Disney Plus. Like, Rob, like, yay, it dethroned Bluey, yay. And like, first of all, Bluey's got trillions of watch minutes. As a parent of a young kid, I know all about that show. All right, Bluey's unstoppable on Disney Plus. It's the reason most people still have a subscription.
Yep, true.
Saying, you know, the spin machine is in full effect for this show. And dude, after we had our discussion about episode 3 last night, I just kind of wanted to revisit the show a day later after everybody's cooler heads have prevailed. Are you over it at all? Or are you sticking to, because you rated it 1 out of whatever. You went mega all-time low.
Yeah,
have you changed your mind?
No, the episode was that episode. I'm not rating the whole series. I'm rating that one episode. And that one episode had nothing to do about it. It was nothing to do about that episode. I'm not changing my rating on that show. That episode was completely almost pointless. I mean...
Yeah, 30 minutes of filler.
I mean, even if you could do that whole episode, I say in 5 to 10 minutes. And hit every point, every plot point you needed to. So, yeah, I'm not changing that. Now, the viewership numbers, I think, is unfair because this could be a great show. Like, everyone has a flop episode. There's always a flop episode because, you know, sometimes the stars don't align. But, I mean, you still have 5 more episodes to build this, I believe. 5 more episodes.
I think it's 8. Yep. I think we figured that out.
Yeah, it's 8. It's an 8 run because it ends on October 3rd is the last episode. Yep. So, and it releases every Tuesday. So that fills that. So this show can still be really great. And with the extended link that I'm reading about, that's in episode 5, could definitely change this show because it could change the trajectory of the show completely because it's supposed to be a really long episode. But one of the other things that might be playing into these numbers is that we're so used to having the Netflix version of series where they drop the entire season at once, binge. And then you can binge watch it. A lot of people do hold out till more episodes are out before they start watching it because they don't want to do that week to week like network TV used to make us do because we got so used to the Netflix model of seasons of shows or series.
That's a good point. I mean, I guess the only way we'd ever know that is you're gonna have to do the whole wait and see thing. We have to wait to see at the halfway point if people are signing up to see a big cluster of episodes. You know, if they run short, that's like watching 2 movies over a weekend. You know, you watch a couple episodes Saturday, a couple on episodes Sunday, go back to work, rinse, repeat. Or if people waited out, like you said, and they just binge like on a rainy Saturday, you just bang out all 8 of them, or some rainy weekend, you bang out all of them.
So what you could say, and look at these numbers in a different way, because you can make numbers read any way you want to, that there are 1.2 million true Star Wars fans who wanted to see what this was going to be.
And tuned in right up front.
Yeah, and tuned in right up front, who aren't just casual fans who will wait for the whole series to drop and watch it later. So, I mean, you can read into these numbers as you want, but that could be also a true to our reality as well.
See, that's the problem with the lack of transparency that these streaming services are able to get away with. When everything's rated up there, and honestly by like Nielsen and stuff, you get to see like you got a clear tacit understanding of how those numbers work. Like you said, it could be one front, but if 85% of them are only watching 2 minutes of episode 1 and then piecing out, I mean, what kind of fans are we talking about at that point? You know what I mean? It's like you said, you can throw that down a bunch of different ways.
Yeah. Just to let you know, we are having technical. So hopefully it will come back up here in a second and get back to normal. Okay. But it is 8:52 here, so you're dating at prime streaming time in a hotel. Okay. So
okay, I'm just marking it down in the notes. Okay, you want to keep moving, or do you want to just wait a couple minutes and then cut it out, or what are we gonna do? I think it's just us anyway.
I think we had
device
one.
wise? I mean, like viewer wise.
I think we had one other one. Like I think my wife was watching. But
If you're out there,
on both my screens. All
I'm
right, well, we'll just
getting
keep going.
intermittent on my TV. Then here, so we're going to be in for a little bit of a funny part here. So I don't know, we might have to audible on this one. So I put you up to watching the Rebel Moon trailer, and then I forgot to watch it today. So I really only know what I've heard about it. So I'm hoping you remember enough of the trailer to kind of carry the segment a little bit. Total disclosure, Winter Wolf has never been a good student with keeping up with homework. It's not something I'm good at, even when I'm asking other people to do it. I know Rebel Moon is a giant, space opera, sci-fi, massive undertaking by Zack Snyder. Fresh off his fame as the owner of the Snyderverse over there at the now decommissioned DCEU. I know that he shot this over at Lucasfilms, and Kathleen Kennedy turned it down.
Yeah.
So do with that information what you will, ladies and gentlemen. Maybe that means that she disliked everything she saw.
Yeah.
But I've only seen stills, and I couldn't tell you anything about it character-wise or story-wise. What do you know?
All right. What I did find out is that this was supposed to be a Star Wars film, and a lot of people are extremely happy that it's not anymore because it would be too restricted by the IP. Oh, you can't hear me?
Yep.
All right, looks like the kilobytes per second are starting to go back up.
Okay, because everything you just started saying about Rebel Moon kind of got all garbled. You're still frozen in the Google Meet screen.
All right. Well, I'm recording locally here as well, so I'll have that. So I'm going to cut out a lot of these mistakes, and I know where to look. It's roughly
Start from here with like a clean talking about Rebel Moon, because all that got garbled on mine, so I have no idea what you just said.
All right.
So just restart yourself, just talking about Rebel Moon and what they wanted from Star Wars that didn't want. Go from there.
All right, so what Rebel Moon was supposed to be a Star Wars film that Star Wars didn't want. So we got chat. So what?
Yep.
All right, let me start over again. What Rebel Moon is a sci-fi movie that was supposed to be a Star Wars film, but wasn't, which a lot of people are happy that they are not, because it had been too restricted by the IP of Star Wars. So he kind of gets to do what he wanted in this, which was, it was supposed to stand outside a little bit of what Star Wars is. It's supposed to stand outside, kind of like an Andor show, where it was outside the universe but inside the overall Star Wars. And then it got nixed by Star Wars, and then so Zachary Snyder got to do it the way he wanted to do it, only Zachary Snyder can, because I think he's pretty good. So this is going to be a 2-movie event on Netflix, which is going to be a true space opera type movie directed by Zachary Snyder, where it's going to go into, from what I can get from the trailer, I haven't, of course I haven't seen it, but based off the trailer, it looks like it's a hero's journey, the chosen one type story.
Yeah.
And how the world and the galaxy bends around this one person. Anthony Hopkins does a voiceover, which is pretty awesome.
That's pretty cool. I didn't know that. That's cool.
Yeah, that was Anthony Hopkins who did the trailer. He's the voiceover in the trailer. And it has some really great lines. I'm actually looking forward to seeing it. It could be a true jump-off point for a brand new space opera IP. And it's already slotted for 2 movies.
I'm up for that. Definitely.
So you're going to have your first half is technically one really long movie for what I'm getting, but they broke into 2 movies. So I'm
they're doing the Dune thing.
Yeah, a little bit like that, but it's original. It's not based off any book or anything like that. It is original.
Right. No, it's
opera.
all his.
Yeah. So it could be really good. It could be really bad, but I'm excited to see it because I'm ready for something new, something original. I'm tired of the same IPs getting rinse, lather, repeat. or lather, rinse, repeat. That's
rinse,
it.
repeated.
Yeah.
Yeah. Lather, rinse, repeat. Yeah. And you said, and this, you said this is a Netflix thing, that this isn't going theatrical at all, that we're
No,
aware
it's
of?
100% released only on Netflix.
That's ballsy, especially with what I assume is a fairly sizable production budget, I would imagine, right?
Oh yeah.
Do we know anything about that?
I do not know
Give me
anything
some numbers.
about the numbers or anything like that. I haven't looked that deep into it.
Oh,
And they
then
usually
don't give me any
don't
numbers.
they usually don't release the budget numbers until release date anyways. So right now,
Okay.
yeah.
Maybe when we're off, I'll over the weekend, maybe I'll look into seeing if anybody's like speculating what the budget is, because if that hit piece is out there and says, oh, it's got a production budget of 400 million or something crazy, you'd think that probably would be all over the place in common knowledge, and I haven't come across anything like that. If they manage to pull this off on a respectable budget, like kind of how we've been banging that drum lately, like imagine if they pull off some kind of space opera-y kind of thing for a budget of 150 mil. Imagine that.
I'm
Some
guessing
decent effects, solid story, captivating characters.
I'm
That'd be a
guessing
banger.
based on what I'm seeing in this, which looks a lot of practical effects. Of course, there's going to be some CGI because it is space.
You need it. You need it, right?
Yeah.
You need it for the space stuff.
I think with the two movies together, it's 300 million because it's two feature-length movies.
Sold. Yeah. Yeah, but see, that's slapping compared to the bloat that we get right now with the other big ticket IP. I'm not calling them AAA anymore. They've earned that. But your big ticket IPs that we get from Star Wars and Marvel and DC, they blow budgets all the time. Mm-hmm. We can throw in Indiana Jones and Mission Impossible and stuff like that too. So yeah, if they manage to run this into the numbers, that's good. One of the criticisms that I've heard of the trailer is that it's 72 minutes long and kind of gives away what most people are expecting are all like the good action bits. In some of the same ways, they kind of give away all like the jump scares and jokes in horror movies. A lot of people think they might have shot their load with the trailer here, just giving it all away. And then the other criticism was that there's no discernible story beyond the obvious, that we know that it is a hero's journey, that there is a chosen one, key to everything, central figure, but nobody can tell me who the villain is. Nobody can tell me anything specific about the story other than it's generically just that journey, which is fine. That's an archetype and kind of bedrock to a lot of the stories that are great anyway. That's fine. But it always does kind of concern me when trailers, especially if they're long ones, like if this wasn't a teaser trailer that was only a minute or under a minute, you should walk away from that knowing the name of the main character at the very least, or like the MacGuffin that they're something. And I don't know that information has been made clear in the trailer, so that's kind of sketches me a little bit.
Yeah, like I said with the trailer, that it's pretty much going to be a chosen one. That he's talking about a myth of a person coming who will bring peace and overthrow everything, and then it's like
okay, all right.
Yeah, so then you have like a war band type society that you did see. It has taste of Warhammer 40K in it. There's some visuals that you can link the two together, even though it's not a true Warhammer movie, which we know Henry Cavill is doing, which I'm really excited about that as well. So
it's on Amazon though. Let's go in with our fingers crossed.
But it still has Cavill, and Cavill is true.
They might rings of power that whole. I don't think he'd let him. I think he'd walk. Right.
He would walk. He has
and if they're not, he walks. Right.
Yeah, and they're giving him creative control on this. So because of what he would bring to it.
Not that we want to. Right. Not that we want to sidebar too far into that until we know more about the Cavill Warhammer thing, but I think you're right. And because Amazon at least has had the stones to put other, like Amazon isn't just Rings of Power. Like they have the Terminal List, they have Reacher, they have a couple of other shows that really do kind of fit that mindset. Yeah, that's what I mean. There's a nice little list of core properties that aren't 2023 everybody in bubble wrap offended by everything. They do kind of harken back to more traditionally maybe masculine heroes that do ass kicking kind of things and really don't stop to fuck around with anybody's feelings. So maybe they give him his due. Maybe they look at the experience at Netflix and they go, you guys had that all lined up and you did what now? You made it about the two girls. No one played the game because of the two girls. Sorry, I don't think nobody did. So I mean, hopefully that works out, but hopefully Rebel Moon works out too, because I'm with you, man. if you give me a new IP and it's just, and if the story's just bad, the only thing I'll just say is the story was bad, but I won't be disappointed that I went in and spent $20 at a theater, or that, I re-upped my Netflix and then sat there for 3 hours, because shit's going to be 3-4 hours long minimum with Zack Snyder. I won't regret that. I won't regret my time or my money if it's something new. And I think an honest effort went into its production at all levels: the writing, the set design, the acting, all that good stuff, the directing, all that stuff. The rehashes are literally what's killing my interest in doing stuff, in watching and covering stuff. Like, if we remove the title card from our last topic, if we remove Ahsoka and just slot in a Kenobi, it's literally the same effing experience for me. Like, if you and I went back and did like a retro review of Kenobi, that's probably the shit you would say. Oh, the first episode was all right. And then, dude, right off a cliff. Like the trajectory on the graph, straight line down, and it's Ahsoka's on a little bit different of a gradient. They could still, pull up and, maybe hit a different level of quality that episode 3 was lacking. But I'm ready for new things. And that's why I think, to tie it back to our first topic, like people keep saying, folks, if you're out there and you're in a creative field, or you have a creative hobby, if you're a writer, if you're an artist in particular, if you can draw, God bless you. Find somebody that's trying to write, pair up, get a comic out there, get a short. If you're like King Z and you have any talent behind the camera, if you've got a friend that writes, team up, do something. Studios aren't going to be gone forever. Their capacity will be different as independent media comes on the rise, but there will always be some a-hole out there looking to buy your work to adapt it for their medium. Have stuff ready to go. Now's the time. If you're working on it now, you can be getting it edited by January and start shopping that shit around by the spring. You know what I mean? Like, you still have time to get in on that. Like, join the club. There's never been an easier time to not be gatekept in getting stuff you put your honest hard work into out there. Now is absolutely the time. I think King Z would echo that sentiment.
Oh, yes. Now is the time to get your stuff done. But speaking of rehashing IPs to the death, let's talk about Robin Hood.
The alley. There it is. Here comes the dunk. Ooh. So, dude, I've heard about this show going back a couple of years now. I don't know if have you ever even heard of this before?
No,
before I mentioned it?
Never heard of it until you told me it was a topic for tonight.
Okay, so it's an ambush topic, guys. If we refer you back to our thumbnail, the title character's getup is the figure in the middle between Zendaya and Ahsoka. That's Robin Hood, Robin with a Y, so you know she's a Zoomer, so you know it's modernized. You get that because it's got a Y. I'm surprised it didn't have 2 Ys, 3 N's, and then an E, and then some kind of punctuation mark above her name. I don't know. So I put this on the list because it's funny. It's just funny to me. The show was initially conceptualized late 2019, right? So this is peak post 2016, everything becoming ridiculously overcompensated for woke, for BLM, for social justice causes and all that kind of stuff. So let me run down the list of boxes they checked for this show, because this shit's funny. So the Robin Hood character, obviously a female, right? Got to have that. You got to flip that. Any guesses where she is on the skin pigmentation scale? Somewhere between me and, I don't know, brown. Where do you think she lies? Yeah. It's not me. It's not me, right? Get this. There are 8 cast members on IMDb that are in all 8 episodes of the show. 8. There's 2 white characters. Given what you know about the Robin Hood story, and you reference the Kevin Costner one, if that's the most recent one you know, guess which 2 characters the white ones are?
A sheriff and Prince John.
Nailed it. Nailed it. Right? But I'll give them credit. Get this. They made the sheriff a white girl, because obviously, right? But they gave her red hair. They actually casted a ginger. Imagine that in 2023. Ain't that some shit? We don't see that too often. So I have the synopsis of the show here, because I think this is hilarious. Where is it? It's back up at the top here. Oh, here we go. Yeah. It's a dark and gritty take on the Robin Hood myth that you're familiar with, featuring a heroine challenging the status quo and fighting oppression. Okay, like at face value, sounds like every Robin Hood show. But if we reference back to the thumbnail and we get a good look at her character, she's got this stupid looking, I think it's supposed to be a wolf inspired neon light LED like mask from like The Purge. Like maybe it was like a discarded prop on the Purge series of movies. And like, I know what this show is going to be, dude. It's going to be Batwoman season 4. It's going to be that garbage. It's going to be CW level writing. It's going to be feelings in hallways. It's every white character is going to be awful. It's going to be so on the nose with modern politics and like the Western world. It's going to be an absolute snore to watch. I'm going to watch the pilot. I'm in. It comes out this month, I think. I'm going to watch this shit. I'm going to watch the first pilot and let you know, the first episode and let you know. But like, I just don't see current day. What is the interesting story they're going to tell besides the same old crap we've already been told, but they're going to throw the thinnest cover of Robin Hood veneer on top of it. None of it will be inspiring. None of it will be like, hero stuff. I mean, as cheesy as the Costner movie was, there's at least some heroic shit that goes on in it. You know what I mean? There's some dashing this, some sword play that. You're not getting any of that in this movie or in this show.
I mean, other than the Costner one, you had the Russell Crowe one where they tried to make Robin Hood be real, like if it really happened in history.
Yeah.
Which they went on that whole that type of genre where they did like King Arthur, how King Arthur could have really existed. Then they
had the faux historical documentary kind of thing. The mockumentary. Yeah.
Yeah, where it was like Clive Owen and he was King Arthur and he was a Roman soldier, which I mean kind of made sense. Then you had Robin Hood with Russell Crowe, where he was a soldier and like how he came back to bring, like he fled. He was like a fleeing soldier from a war.
Deserter.
Yep. And then after that one, they had that horrific one that had the dude from the Kingsmen and Jamie Foxx.
What was that? Yeah, dude, what was that?
I have no idea, but I remember the beginning of it, and it was like, forget everything you know about the Robin Hood thing. And I'm like, I wish I could forget this movie because it is that bad. Because first off, like they have like these archers coming into like clearing a building with bows and arrows, like they're SEAL Team 6. And I'm like, no, this isn't how it was at all. They had a full machine gun arrow gun that was shooting arrows like by.
Was this Warcraft 2?
Was
this like an RTS game?
It was
that a siege engine? Like, what the hell is this?
It was so bad. It was.
Dude, you forgot one. You forgot an important one. You forgot Men in Tights. How are you gonna forget Men in Tights?
Oh, Men in Tights was before the
best Robin Hood movie I've ever seen. It was the best Robin Hood movie I've ever seen because he has an English accent. Which I love that joke when they make it in that at the Costner expense.
Yeah.
But dude, what do you think of it? Let me get your thoughts on this, right? Because I don't care about this show at all, but I'd like to get your thoughts on timing of this show. I think that if this show comes out in 2019, like if they started it in 2017, we're getting right into the beginning of Trump. We're a few years outside of the police shooting in Ferguson, Michael Brown, Trayvon Martin, all that stuff to come up, right? If we're a few years off of that, I think this show plays a little bit better to its base. It gets a little bit more attention with all the right people pressing it, pushing it, promoting it. But I think it's just too late right now. I mean, we're 10 years removed almost from those incidents getting off the ground. All right. Mm-hmm. Corporations have now long since moved on from the BLM messaging and have adopted the trans messaging for their agenda that they're currently involved in right now. That's what's marketable and allegedly profitable. You could ask Target and Bud Light what that's all about in terms of profitability. But I think they've moved on from these core social issues, right? They're no longer as air quote hip as they might have been. This show made by a Canadian production company, which notoriously left-leaning, just like our stuff down here. But I think it really is too late for this show to come through, because as we've seen other movies that come through in the last couple of years, like when they tried to do the Charlie's Angels reboot with Elizabeth Banks a couple of years ago, like these kind of things that push these girl boss messages on top of the social justice stuff, I just don't think there's any teeth in them anymore for most viewers. I think people that want that stuff will find it. But I think the consensus of that bell curve in the middle is like, nope, no, I think we're good here, guys. We're not saying the right-wing Nazi guys are right, but like maybe we don't need that right now. Maybe we don't need anything that doesn't inspire a wide cross-section of people to be on my screen right now. Because that's where I'm at personally. That's where I'm at.
I mean, if they play it off like, is it supposed to be a comedy or is it supposed to
No, dude,
be like completely
my best read is
serious?
it's supposed to be like a superhero-y. It's like a CW show, like Batwoman, like Heroes of Tomorrow, like literally like CW, like Arrowverse. Like that's the tone that I'm getting from people talking about it.
I just I talked about this a little bit when I was talking about the Lord of the Rings, Magic the Gathering cards and how they were changing ethnicities
Yep.
in Lord of the Rings, and it I would, if I was in that community, I would consider this almost racist because it was
Pandering like a motherfucker for sure.
because it's saying I'm not good enough to make my own hero. I'm not good enough for, like, I need you to give me this, and the only way I can get above is if I steal it from someone else. So that's what Robin Hood did.
Right.
Robin Hood stole from the rich and gave to the poor. But if you're doing it in modern society, you're saying that the only way you can advance is by stealing what someone else has, which I don't think is the message that they want to come across. They want equality. They want to be able to. They walk in there and they're not judged by their color, the color of their skin, their gender, anything like that.
Sure. Yeah.
I think this type of show would actually set that back because it I could see it as a wrong message, but I might be the wrong skin color to be saying this because I didn't grow up with some of the issues that they had.
Sure, that's fair. That's honest assessment.
I have played life at almost the easiest difficulty level, I guess, is what they would say. But like I said, I
think that game is flipped now, though. In the last 10 years, man, I think that's a little different when you have laws and rules and policies that support somebody else having easy mode. I'm not so sure that's the case anymore. It might have been right for us, but I think that also raised us to not have certain dipshit views of other people that didn't look like us. You know what I mean?
And I'm always taken back to what was said by a great civil rights leader when he says you should be measured on the content of your character and not by the color of your skin. And I think this brings more attention back to the color of your skin than the content of your character. And like I said, I might be the wrong skin color to be talking about this like this. You did take it as you wish. But I do watch a lot of shorts and reels. People also call them TikToks. I don't use TikTok, but shorts, reels that were, even people inside that community are tired of stuff like this because it sets them back and says that they can't advance on their own. They need to take it from someone else, which they're tired of that message as well.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that assessment as well. And that's why I think it's important when, incoming, superstar, new independent creators like Eric July, Young Rippa over there at Rippaverse, putting out his own comic line. You might have seen some of that stuff around YouTube. He's running the Rippaverse with the main character Isom. Launched the whole line from he crowdfunded a couple. He sold multi-millions on the first 2 books. He's got other heroes coming in the universe soon, including a team. He's got big visions for it. But he says all the time on his channel that I followed for a few years, Miles Morales is Miles Morales. Peter Parker is Spider-Man. All the merchandise labels them as such because that's just who they are at their core. And the reason he says, you could write Miles as great as you want to write him, but at the end of the day, he's tokenized Spider-Man, and he's pretty much said what you said. It tells me that you didn't think you could just create white, black, Asian, whomever doing the creation. You didn't think a new black character would sell, so you weren't willing to take the risk that literally 1,000 other there had to be thousands of failed superheroes to get to Spider-Man, thousands to get to Batman and Superman, and they all fell by the wayside. They sank or swam on their merit. So Rippa's message is like, you're not willing to even take that chance and just go down with the ship. If you put your heart into it, it'll either sink or swim on its own merit. People will back you. You know what I mean? So I think you're right to take a Robin Hood character, and it touches against the appropriation thing that we hear so much of the time. Also, like, again, King Z and I's policy on the channel has always been, if you want stories told, go effing tell us the stories. You didn't need to take a British tale that's like 800 years old and slap a different filter on it and change a skin color. You could shop around the world. There's 8 billion people out there. and you could have given us something new and novel. And if you put your heart and respect into it, you could have turned out a product. Nobody except like the most racist 1% douche nozzle on the planet would not see a movie based on the color of the main character's skin. We're looking at you, China, because I mean, apparently that's the thing China does, but whatever. We're not China. They do what they want to do. But for me, if they wrote an interesting character, they could check whatever demographic boxes they want. I'd be like, oh, it's a story about a dad that needs to avenge his kids, or he needs to do a job he doesn't want to do to get his kid into college or something. Dude, I don't care if that dude's Cambodian, if he's from Nigeria, or if he's from Brooklyn. Like, that's a compelling story to me as a guy that has a job to take care of my kid. You know what I mean? You're a retired soldier. Like, there's millions of stories that could be told that you would be interested in, regardless if it was about the Indian military, the Russian military, the Canadian military, or even the story within it. Like, it just has to be respectful and done with integrity. And then you would say, I know that for a fact. And that's most people. We want the story. We're all human beings. Those stories resonate with us on a core level, because at a core level, it's an emotion that the story's about. It's about being afraid. It's about being in love. It's about being angry about something. It's about having pride in your work. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Those stories are universal. Family is universal. Revenge is universal. Like, do more of that. Do more of that. We 100% didn't need 8 episodes of Robin with a Y hood. Dude, this show's getting canceled after episode 5. I guarantee it. I mean, there's no way this goes yard and then gets a season 2. There's no money in there for these.
It is the CW. They let shows go way too far anyway. Last longer than they're supposed to.
But I think the bankroll for this nonsense might have dried up. And CW, actually, I'm not sure if this is a CW show. I reference it being CW style, like in terms of tone and things like that. This actually, I think, is on I think it's going to be on Sky. What's it called? It's Sky One in Canada, so that might be the CW affiliate. I don't know, but I don't think there's discretionary spending for this kind of crap anymore. Advertisers aren't going to be throwing cash at this because no one's going to watch it. You know. So, I mean, best of luck, Robin Hood. I'll tune in for the pilot, and I'll be back with a review just to let you guys know how comically awful it is. And again, that's not to knock anybody performing in the show unless your job is actually done terribly. Like, more power to you. You cashed a check.
So
God bless you.
You're talking about books and everything. So there are tons of books that's come out that has the different demographics that are telling the fantasy story like that. Like Jade City's one of them. The Poppy Wars.
Yep. Oh, dude, Jade City's clutch.
These are popular series that they could adapt easily to hit that. And there are more and more that are growing every day. I mean, was it Kindle?
Because they can't get gatekept anymore.
Kindle adds like 5,000 new books every day. So there's the story out there that can be adapted and have your own heroes, which you deserve your own heroes. That's the big thing, that you deserve your own heroes. You deserve people that you can look at and be like, that's my hero, not paint another hero that's been out there for years in a different light. But speaking of books,
I like to. No, wait. I got one more. Hold on. Speaking of books, you mentioned Jade City, and I think that we're always talking about going to Asia to find, certain stories that can be told, because that's modern. That's not a retelling of an old Chinese or Japanese or Korean or folk tale or anything like that. That's like it's original fiction. There's another one. There's a 2-book in the series. It's by Evan Winters. The first book was called Rage of Dragons. Dude, African mythology infused into a completely fictional world and telling a tale of a kid that needs revenge for his father that was slayed by his own people for unjust reasons, even though they were in defense of their king, kind of thing. That's an amazing first book. I haven't read the second book, but that's exactly it. It's like, it's somebody that was inspired by, he's American, but he traced his cultural roots back to wherever, was inspired by all those stories about certain warriors and the folk tales that involve dragons and demons and the spirit world and things, which are awfully congruent towards the folklore in, Europe and China. Again, suggesting we have a shared experience and really can resonate with each other's stories. Just thought I'd point that out there for you dickweeds that think we're different all the effing time. But yeah, so I mean, that's out there too. And that story, that example can be found on every continent. You know what I mean? I'm sure on Kindle somewhere, somebody in Argentina was inspired by myths of his religion, myths of his culture growing up, things that he read in Tolkien, things that he read from when he went to school abroad in Pakistan or something, and he's going to infuse that all with his culture, unique to there, and he could tell something based on their gods. You know what I mean? Their pantheons, all their stuff. Where's all that? Where? Oh, you did the easy thing, like King Z said. You're like, oh, you know what Batman hasn't done lately? A dude. Let's try that. That'll sell books. That'll put asses in movie seats. You know, Bruce and Jim Wayne. That'll do it. Like, no, it just won't. So stop. Let's get back to creativity. Creators that are out there again. This is my appeal to your senses. Go do some new shit. It's time. The world is ready for it. King Z, get me down to this last one because I hate this chick. The more I talk about her, the more I hate her.
So speaking of books, let's go to an adaptation of a book series. Our favorite, The Hunger Games.
God. I feel like I just need to make a channel that basically like fanboys for this chick, because I talk about this woman way too much. For somebody I don't know in real life, right? Rachel Zegler. It was the subject of an article. I think it was on Comic Book Resources. Guy writes a puff piece a little bit where he's comparing Zegler's character in the upcoming song. It's A Ballad of Songbird and Snakes.
Yeah,
I think is the prequel book that the upcoming movie that she's based on. So she plays the lead character. I think the name is Lucy Gray, who is basically this prequel's Katniss Everdeen. Right? So that's her role in the book. The article, as I skim through it, suggests that Rachel Zegler's character is the anti-Katniss. And at first I thought it was a reference to her personality, like off screen, like in real life, how this chick's kind of been out there in our faces with her stupid ass comments about Snow White and, you know, misogyny, and, you know, that the prince was stalking Snow White, even though he's only in the damn thing for like a page and a half at the beginning and the end. I thought it was more about all that, whereas Jennifer Lawrence's early Hollywood career was very America's sweetheart. She was kind of cute and everybody doted on her when she was younger, and then she kind of turned into a young adult sex symbol later, where she was on the cover of, like, when we still had magazines. Guys, magazines were tablets but with pages, like paper. If you're unfamiliar with that approach. So she was that girl for a while. She had a really long run of, she was you know, such and such magazine's hottest woman alive, and this, that, and the other thing. So I thought they were kind of juxtaposing that, but they didn't. The article goes on to suggest that she's the anti-Katniss because in this movie, her character wears her sexuality on her sleeve, whereas Katniss Everdeen was stoic and could be considered asexual. And I had to sit back in my chair and be like, did they miss the love triangle that this first movie created that was then carried through like every movie that this chick was in going forward? At what part did anybody think that this chick was asexual or not straight or whichever? But then I got to think of one level sicker. Did anybody care? Like, the character was like 14 years old in the movie. Did anybody give a shit what her orientation was? No. That's not why you went to see a young adult movie based on a dystopian future adapted for film. It has no effing bearing on anything. And this jackass thinks that he's going to, shill for this movie by saying this character is better because she wears her sexuality on her sleeve? So what, is she a tramp in the movie? What does that even mean? I don't get it.
Yeah, I think that's
what's wrong with people.
That's what they're gonna say. Based on what I was reading, is that she is more flamboyant about being about the boys and being.
Who cares?
Yeah, and that's my thing. Is like, why do you need it in a survival game, pretty much
right.
battle royale? I don't understand why it needs to play in. Like the little flirting that they had in the original, and like, you know, you could tell that they liked each other, but then they didn't, and like it was fine. But it was about the survival. Right. Like, you have that little king, but you didn't. It wasn't like, you didn't need to be highlighted. It didn't need to be, you know, more explained. And that's what I'm seeing. Like, this is like, she's gonna be like the hard, like, Katniss, but more feminine in doing it. And like, the more you hear this girl talk, it's the more like, do you even like movies? Because she bashes everything she does or anything that she's doing that was done before. And it's just like, there was a reel that was sent to me about it. It was like, she's there talking about Snow White, and it's like, hey, you, and it was like, this guy's like a Disney exec, like, you do know how we make our money, right? Like, our parks, and now you're bashing one of our rides, and like, oh, okay, yeah. Wait, we're totally agree with you, and we're on the thing, but could you? Oh, now you're saying this. It's kind of funny.
Dude, send me that reel if you have it, please, because I got a good one earlier where somebody did a cut up of her making dumbass remarks about Snow White, but then they cut in parts of an English film. Actually, the Critical Drinker uses one of these clips in all his videos where it's the old British lady going, "Well, I think I smell shite." And every time Rachel Zegler finished a sentence, he'd cut in, a variation of that character from whatever movie that's from. And I laughed hysterically for like 40 seconds. So I'm like, yep, because this is effing stupid. This movie is lucky nobody can promote anything right now, because people are going to start spreading the Snow White hate based on her over to anything else she does. Anything that comes close is going to get the Rachel Zegler punishment effect from the bleed over from Snow White. It's unavoidable at this point. It's everywhere. Like, I can't get on YouTube within circles of covering movies and not seeing this chick's obnoxious face, her stupid chuckle when she thinks she's saying something funny to a shill reporter. And like, you're not funny. Oh, the obvious Snow White was made 37, so obviously it's dated what? A driving human emotion and condition to this point is still to, find acceptance, to be loved, and, to be supported by other people, right? That's a thing, Rachel, right? I'm just saying. The best part of this is, according to like the people out there that know of her, like she's in a relationship apparently with a guy. So like this is a dude that has to put up with this chick talking about Prince Charming stalked Snow White. Like, brother, whatever your name is, God bless you. If you're ever in the area, pop by the Den. Kingsley and I will spring for drinks. We can talk off the record. We will not record. Like, dude, I can't imagine being in a room with this chick for more than 5 minutes and just not being annoyed. Like the article, I don't know if you picked it up. It said, Rachel Zegler, best known for being in Spielberg's West Side Story. I'm like, that movie also bombed harder than Rosie O'Donnell's OnlyFans page. Like, that's not quite the flex you think it is. It's like, I don't get this chick. I don't get bad mouthing everything. This article is obviously more, this topic's more about the guy that wrote that weird piece. But, like, I wonder, based on what we've seen of this actress, how much of this interpretation of the character from the book is hers. I haven't read the book. I don't have any plans. I read the trilogy. I have no plans of reading a cash grab prequel novel. But could this be her take on the character to put a stamp on it? That way it is not considered Katniss, wish version, overstock version. I don't know. What do you think about that? Like, how much direction and power does she have? Is she on Jenna Ortega's level? I can't imagine she is. She doesn't seem to have half the talent.
No, and she seems like she wants to be. Like, if you look at the way she presents herself and the way you kind of think she wants to be Jenna a little bit. So I think that she's trying to make herself uncastable.
She's getting there, dude. Like, it probably only takes one more thing after this. Because this is part 4 in a series. It's based on a book series, like you said. Like, it had its run in 2010 or whenever it came out. I don't think Songbirds and Snakes really broke down did it beat down anybody's doors to get read? I mean, I think that the demographic of folks that read this, that were into YA 15 years ago, they've probably outgrown the genre for the most part. Of course, some diehards would pick it up, but like, I don't remember seeing this like on my Amazon front page or on my Kindle front page, except maybe to pre-order, but like, that was it. It wasn't in my face on the try to sell me banner.
No, definitely not. Yeah. I think we're done talking about her because I really don't want to talk about her anymore. Can we move on?
The next stupid thing she says, I have to. Dude, I have to. If she says one more, we could be done today. But if she says some stupid shit next week about Snow White, that's happening. Like, we will be talking about this chick again. She's gonna be my version of Brie Larson, how she was to other channels. Like, I will keep talking about her until I'm blue in the face, because I really do just dislike her attitude that much.
Yeah.
But anyways. You could drop us down to the bonus, because I'm actually going to give you a dealer's choice situation. And I feel like maybe we should cover both, just because.
Well, we got time.
All right, cool. Let's do these quickly. I'll give you the easy one first, and then the one I know you're going to take personal second.
All right.
Good. How are we in the middle? How are we almost in September, and we haven't talked about Equalizer 3 at all? Because it's coming out like today.
Right? The first, today, yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. My brother's in a screening right now.
It's in the crawl of the movies coming out.
But dude, how has this not been like, we just talk about this for at least a couple minutes? By all accounts, it's basically a John Wick franchise. I mean, it was there before John Wick, I think, in terms of the Denzel movie, not the TV show. But like, this is what we want. We want action flicks where like the male character, like the stoic hero type, he's out of the life, but he gets dragged in because he actually has a heart underneath, the blood on his hands of all the people he's righteously exterminated. And like Denzel's back. And like, we haven't mentioned this once. I feel like we've done a disservice to the people that tune in to hear about this kind of thing. And there it is right there. Dude, Afakizi, I told you I was going to get to this, dude. We're going to talk about Denzel. And dude, if you want to comment in the chat without spoiling it, if you actually got out to check it out tonight, I know you said you were going to, we were chatting the other day, let us know on a scale of 1 to 5, what did you think it was? But dude, Denzel is back apparently. And like, they've come up as close to like the Man on Fire thing as they could. Like, it's set in Mexico after the events of 2.
Actually, he's doing set in Italy.
Up for the people thing. Is it Italy? It looked like Mexico. I swear they were speaking Spanish.
I think it's Italy. I think it's Italy. Because it's the actual mafia.
Spanish, Italian.
They didn't say cartel. They said mafia. Mafia is
okay. So it's probably Italia. Okay. Yeah. But like, this is exactly the kind of movie that I've wanted all summer long, and now I'm pissed that like it came right up to the doorstep, bit me in the ass, and now I've got to I got to move my whole weekend around to get out and see it. I got to rewatch part 2 to get all refreshed, because these movies, just like John Wick, you know what I mean? They kind
of build on each other,
right? And I love going in. No, I want to be part of the in jokes. I want to be part of the revenge kick as it comes up. Like if it's about somebody that he didn't put down when he should have, I want to understand the flashback when it inevitably happens. You know what I mean? I want to be part of, what do we got here? Dude, 4.2, he says, classic Equalizer style. Dude, you just bought a ticket. Seriously, I just bought a ticket. I'll be at this shit in IMAX on Sunday. I'm going to move my day around. Weather be damned. If it's a nice day out, the family's going to the last beach day by themselves, I'll be checking this one out for sure. But I enjoyed part 1 a lot. I saw part 2. I think I was half in the bag when I saw it years ago, so I don't remember it as well. But I remember the banging soundtrack by Zach Hemsey in part 1. He had a song called Vengeance that I literally wrote my first book to on a loop, because it just set the tone for the hero that had to punch back. Dude, I'll send you the YouTube link for that. You can listen to it offline. If we had the kind of cash to get that as our pre-game show, our pre-show music, we'd roll that, because it's a banger. All right, it's got tone for days.
I've listened. I've seen both the first 2 movies of the Equalizer series.
Solid.
The third one, one of the reasons why I didn't know that was coming out until I was looking up stuff for the crawl down there to put out coming soon, which I think is coming across the screen right now.
Yep. I see it.
Is I don't watch commercials anymore. I don't have network TV, so I don't see commercials.
I said that to him yesterday. I said that to Afakizi Game, and in the chat yesterday we were chatting. I said, I said Kingsy and I are on we're on our show, we're on streaming. We don't spend a lot of time on terrestrial television, so we don't get rando commercials. All the shit on streaming are targeted ads for, HIV medications and
or you pay for the ad-free version like I have.
Yeah, I'm not paying for that bullshit. I'll just go take a leak and make a sandwich. But I was saying to him, the first trailer I saw for this was literally like a week and a half ago at like the Haunted Mansion. And I sat there and I was like, there's a fucking Equalizer 3. And then I was waiting for the other shoe to drop and like see Queen Latifah on the screen. Thankfully, it's not that. Can we confirm that it's not a crossover? If you're still out there, confirm that Queen Latifah is not in the movie.
I don't believe
that was a rumor for a while in production.
From the trailer I saw, it looks like it's 100% Denzel. From the media blitz I'm seeing, it's 100% Denzel. Okay.
Being promoted on the Xbox homepage, he says. Interesting. Not for me, it's not.
When's the last
Again, there must be some targeted algorithm shit. But what do you think of this movie? Like, what should we expect in terms of box office return? I know we don't have any numbers because this was like this topic just came up, right? Yeah. Is this the kind of movie that can be successful? Because it has to be practical effects for the most part, outside some blood effects. There's no jetpacks. It's not in outer space. There's no monsters, no superpowers. Could this make a return like Insidious did? Like, because the budget is low, even if it underperforms as a second sequel, can they make bank here?
So I think their budget, based on what I saw, and of course explosions, gunfire does cost, like safety,
right?
Stuff like that. So you're going to have at least $100 million, one, because it has Denzel's name attached to it.
Fact, that's costing you $25 million, $30 million right off the rip.
Yeah, so you have Denzel, so you have $100 million production right there. At the bare minimum, it's $100 million, and I believe because it's coming out so late in September, it also is coming out on a holiday weekend because it's also
Yep.
Labor Day. So it gets
Yep.
that extra day to make more money. But also, you have kids in school. I mean, because life is coming in. A lot of people with kids aren't going to be able to go out and see it because, one, it's probably not suitable for kids.
It's 100% rated R. 100% rated R.
Yeah, so you're gonna have to worry. You're gonna have that playing against you, but you also have a holiday weekend, so you're gonna have a lot of soldiers who are gonna be off. You're gonna have people who have Monday off.
Balancing
So
factors.
I could see it coming in roughly about 24 to 32 million at best.
Dude, that puts it in Flash and Indy 5 territory, which, while disappointing for them, probably pretty solid for a second action sequel in a franchise that has its fans, but it's nothing like, again, there was no major press push for this. But I wonder if they missed an opportunity sliding this kind of R-rated action movie earlier in the year. Like John Wick 4 came out, I think, in April. Should this have kicked off the summer season in May, or were they gun shy with the usual slate of superhero garbage that was coming out? Because I think these guys should have seen the writing on the wall and gone into the theater and competed.
Yeah, I think the big one that they were trying to push away from, which and they pushed in the wrong direction, is the Barbie Oppenheimer
Yeah.
bomb that was, because it just completely just overshadowed every other movie out there.
Right.
So I think they were trying to stay away from it, and they pushed it to the fall, because which also they might have done because of the strike, because they know they're going to be lower on content coming up with no strikes, no actors producing stuff.
That's a good point.
So they might have pushed it to try
yeah.
to get something in the box office now. And that also might be another reason why they punted Dune, so they can get that money later, get that return later, as people get thirsty for new stuff, because we're going to be hammered with reality TV coming up. Because
I'm looking forward to that about as much as I would your general like colorectal exam. Like it's going to be awful to enter, like, talk about bad phases. Like phase 2 of reality TV is going to be abysmal. Dude, I am seeing commercials for that shit on streaming, obviously. And nothing breaks my heart more than knowing there's going to be a 47th iteration of Real Housewives of wherever the fuck ever. I don't care. Like, I would have preferred a movie like this. I would have preferred some. I understand that was a good point about them kicking it out because they knew the strike was there. And the strike, given that it's over 100 days now, that obviously would have thrown it back to about the point where I would have slid it probably mid-June to compete against something like The Flash. I'd have been like, wait a second. The track record for all these superhero movies being all cheesy and goofy is trending remarkably downward. No, we need some rated R shit with Denzel up in there, like chopping dudes in the throat, flipping the slide action on a gun around and disarming a dude, and then checking his watch. You know what I mean? Like that, we needed that. So, but I think you're right. This might have been a larger, instead of a tactical decision, this might have been a strategic decision to push these returns out. But yeah, we needed to give Denzel his due. So I'm glad the topic was recommended to me by a good friend of the channel. He's commented a bunch of times. I appreciate you, brother. Thank you for checking in tonight if you're still there. But we're gonna put King Z under some spotlight now, because I bet if you're still here, King Z is probably going to get a rare bit of Hulk rage for what I'm about to say next. I'm going to put him on because this is about the most passionate I've seen him since we started doing the shows, when this movie came out in the first place. Dude, I think I mentioned it last night, but did you see, because I think you commented on my Facebook post, that effing Netflix and fucking Amazon turned down distribution rights for streaming for Sound of Freedom? Did you get that?
Are you surprised at all? I'm not.
Dude, I'm not surprised, but anger level is increasing.
People have an issue with stuff that touches you real, because you have people out there who associate stuff like this with the far right, conspiracy theory people, and that's not it. This is true stuff. You can go and watch hundreds of hours of congressional testimonies of how they've been smuggling children in through the southern border. I watched a video about this the other day. Like, they were played as a government entity where they were taking these kids and said that they were taking them to sponsors, their family, and like what was the other one? There was another name that they said it was like kind of like foster care type thing.
Oh, okay. Sponsors probably.
Yeah, sponsors. That's it. Yeah, sponsors, caretakers, and
Immigration sponsor. Yep.
parents. What they found out when they did the investigation, when ICE did the investigation, they were being dropped off at criminals' houses. They're being dropped off at warehouses and stuff like that, where they were being put into sex trafficking. These kids were being sex trafficked. This was the reason why they stopped it in the first place. But no one wanted to believe that. But this was a true thing that's happening. These kids are coming up in that huge caravan that they talked about, being brought by people who weren't their parents to begin with. And then they're being smuggled into the United States to people who are paying for them online using the dark web so they can have sex with a kid. And this is, if you're not angry about this and you're watching this show, I mean, if you're just a human being in general, if we can't protect children, then what are we doing? Seriously. And then you have these big media companies like Amazon, Netflix, Disney, who want to bury movies that want to show and bring a light to this dark side of our world where people who truly need help can't get it because people don't believe it's really happening. And when people try to tell them it's really happening, we're labeled as nut jobs or conspiracy theorists. And this is completely wrong. It's completely irresponsible as a human being, not as an American, not as a male, as a human being. Because if we can't protect kids, then what is the freaking point?
Dude, I got to back everything you said about 1,000,000,000%. My blood's already boiling, and about 10 times I've looked over there at the special bang bang locked case, if you know what I mean, wondering if there was anything to be done about that. But that's, dude, this shit boils my blood. It's exactly like you said, man. I don't get how a movie, you know what? Even if this was 100% fiction, even if this was the plot to Equalizer 3, right? Who cares? It's a story about rescuing kids and sticking it to the animals that did bad things. How does that have to have why must this occupy a political stance left or right? You know, why does this have to be a QAnon adjacent issue? It's not. Are you actually trying to tell me people that don't at least have a curiosity in seeing this movie objectively on its own terms, just see what the message was, to see what the story was about, that you don't think trafficking is an issue? Well, you can go to FBI.gov and you can see what the annual stats are just for kidnapping in the States. It's a thing. People go missing daily. Have you not seen your Facebook feed lately? It ain't like you don't have somebody saying, please share this. My daughter's been missing since Saturday. You know, she's 16. You know what I'm saying? Dude, trafficking is a effing thing. So I don't get this. There was a tacit denial of this movie from the establishment, top to bottom, when it launched, that they tried to keep this entire thing suppressed until the sentiment really amongst people reviewing it exposed the movie for what it is, that it's a message about God's kids not being for sale, and that they couldn't sweep this movie under the rug because the word of mouth for people going to theaters was so overwhelmingly positive and moving that even though it touched a nerve to actually watch what happened in the movie, not that there was anything exploitative, but like you said, the subject is raw. It hurts. That once they couldn't deny that, they had to pay attention to this movie. King Z, give them some money numbers about this movie, because we talked about this briefly yesterday. This movie outperformed what now?
Indiana Jones, Mission Impossible.
Yeah.
Those are two of the big IPs
Flash.
that it's.
Flash. We can throw the Flash on that.
Dude, I could write a movie tomorrow. I could write it tonight. We could film it tomorrow, and I'll do the Flash. Seriously, I mean,
we'll throw that one out.
That bad.
But it took out two big dogs. You know what I mean?
It
took out Indy 5, a big dog, and Mission Impossible 46, whatever it is.
Not only did it beat Indy 5, it beat Indy 5 on a holiday weekend.
Yep. Ridiculous. On fewer screens, if I recall correctly. Significantly. 25% less.
Yeah.
It was 25% fewer screens. And that was after it had been buried by Disney, who owned the movie. They had production rights and distribution rights to this movie when they acquired Fox, and they shelved it. They shelved it. They were the original creators were able to get it back and get it out there to get the message sold. King Z told me yesterday this movie still made $1 million last week. It's still there.
It's still making $1 million at least every week so far. And the reason why is because it's a real story. It's true. It's
That's what I mean,
and it's not over glamorized. The guy isn't going in
it's not
and
an action flick.
He's not taking out a whole squad of people. And I think the one reason why people are a little bit hesitant about this because the movie takes place in Latin America. It's not based in the United States. It's not American kids. Because I bet as soon as it's Susie's sweetheart and her blonde hair and blue eyes go missing, and then they find her somewhere in South America, drugged up in a hotel room, it would be widespread news. But because these kids are coming from a third world country and being smuggled into the United States for, and I'm going to say it, billionaires, people like Jeffrey Epstein. I mean, it was a real thing.
We just call it the island here. We just call it the island.
Oh, don't worry about the island. Just worry about who all went there and all the people who got citizenship in countries that have non-expedition. I can't say the word. Say the E word where they can't.
Non-expeditionary, non-extradition agreements. That's just agreements. Non-extradition
countries
agreements.
Like Greece. I'm looking at you. I didn't say the name. He did. But
I was just something in my throat.
So. Not including former and current presidents. But anyways, we're not getting conspiracy theories here. We're talking about real life. We're talking about real kids. We're talking about a real problem in this world that is being smuggled into places like Houston, Seattle, LA, Atlanta, Georgia, coming in through the Texas border, which the governor has been fighting for years to protect the border, and he brought this issue up, and they shut him down and cut his funding for bringing up child smuggling through the southern border. I mean, this is a huge problem, and like I said, it's for the kids, and if we can't protect kids, then we can't protect anything.
Yeah, I think, like for purposes of our bonus topic here, the part that just chaps my ass about it, like I mentioned yesterday, was, all right, so you're telling me you're not interested, Amazon or Netflix or whoever, you're not interested in covering or carrying this movie that put butts in seats for 5 months, that would likely drive some uptick in subscribership to your platform because it was so in the news and was out there and it had that kind of message of keeping kids safe. You didn't want any of that. But you got Cuties on Netflix. You never took that down. Massive public outcry. Movie about over-sexualizing young girls into basically, stripper/dancer roles, right? You kept that up there. So it's still there. I'm pretty sure it's still there. I don't think they ever removed it. You could still search it and find it. I recommend nobody do that because, fuck that movie. But they took their artistic license integrity card and played it fully there. Oh, it's important that we have voices from elsewhere telling stories that are unique to them and that are meaningful to them. And because it was somebody, I believe it was a woman of color though from France who claimed that elements of that story were also real. And I'm like, okay, so you carried that, you filmed what could be considered like graphic, borderline pornographic scenes with like young girls in over-sexualized dance poses that some freak is going to freeze frame out there like an absolute perv that needs to be fed into a wood chipper. Dude, I'll say it, dude. If you're the kind of guy that watched that movie for anything other than like to report on it for journalistic reasons, and then maybe even then, like I think you need a 45 caliber dose of pedophilin, and we have those in stock. Like there's no supply chain issue for any of that. But it's glaring hypocrisy that they can keep that and then say that they don't have interest, that they don't think it would be a profitable business decision to carry the Sound of Freedom, regardless of who starred in it and what his real life religion may be, regardless of who's reflected in the movie or not. Like the movie was a box office phenomenon for 5 months. And we're just going to pretend that's not a thing. This is why these streaming services can collapse as quick as they want, because the good shit will just end up on another platform anyway. And we can just still filter through the stuff we want to see from other sources. I just think it's asinine that Netflix wants to take that kind of stance. But hopefully somebody over there at Paramount's listening. Hopefully the guy over there at Warner Brothers over there at Max is listening. You get Sound of Freedom, people are signing up, dude. They're just going to. You may as well give it a shot. But yeah, that's it for a fiery bonus segment, guy. Unless you got any closing words on, keeping God's children safe, because it's a message I back 100%. I think it's ridiculous that people tried to paint that off as that this is a conspiracy theorist, right wingers wet dream. You know what? It is a fucking wet dream. It is. I'd like to go handle that kind of business and bring kids back. Does that make me a bad guy? I don't care. I don't need your fucking approval for that kind of thing. And if you don't want approval for doing the right thing by kids, you're the kind of piece of shit that we need a whole lot fewer of. Do us all a favor. You know what I mean? Short pier, long walk. Just saying. What else we got, dude? Are we about to hit the ejection button? Do we remind people?
We'll be back Wednesday, 9:30 Eastern, for Ahsoka, episode 4. Then we'll be back next week, same time, 9:30 Eastern, for this show. I will be leaving this location onto another this weekend. I just dropped something. And
I thought you were leaving now. I'm like, that was fast. You tried to throw the smoke pellet but missed the effect. It didn't map in right.
Yeah, well, we'll be testing the internet. If we cannot go live there, we will do a pre-recorded show slightly before our release time, and then we will release the video at the proper time. So it will still be 9:30 Wednesday. It might be a pre-recorded show, but it'll be 9:30. And then 9:30 on Thursday might be a pre-recorded show, but it will be at 9:30 on Thursday. And then you have our weekend of clips from this show, weekend from clips from Ahsoka, if he feels like it, or we might be throwing some shorts up
we had a good rant in there. We had a couple of good rants, I think, in that show on Ahsoka. Guys, go check that out, by the way. As a side note, refer back, because we're going to be doing a lot of talking about Ahsoka going forward, because I honestly think this is, if they're actually going to do budget cutbacks over there at Disney and kind of focus more on allegedly quality than quantity, this might be the last thing from live action Star Wars you get for a while on Disney Plus. I've come to believe that since seeing Ahsoka last night. Unless the next 5 episodes bang it out of the park and word of mouth just explodes online and gets people to come in late, like King Z was saying, I think they're going to take a break from this and maybe focus on the feature films. They haven't had one out in like 4 years. There's nothing on the radar that's remotely in pre-production for them. That Rey movie's not going to be it. The beginning of the Jedi thing, not going to happen. You might get the Filoni movie. Dude, if this show bombs all the way, you might not even get that one. And that was the safe one, I thought.
Yeah.
But we'll save that all for another day. King Z, best of luck packing up and getting on the road. Drive safe. We'll see you guys next week. And then, of course, like you said, over the weekend in our various shorter videos. And we'll see you next time. Dude, hit the ejection button. Get me out of here.